10 gruesome things living inside of humans.
10.
Worm in the eye. We can pretty much guarantee that you're going to cringe at every single thing on this list, so let's start off with what may be one of the more irritating things you could imagine. Well, in 2010, John Matthews from Iowa was complaining about how his vision was hazy and claimed to see dark spots in his vision. After visiting his ophthalmologist, Matthews discovered that he had a parasitic worm in his eye that was eating away at his retina. Luckily, it was removed without surgery. Well, believe it or not, this is not the worst case on this list. We're just getting started, and it's going to get much worse.
9.
Brain worm. Told you. Oh man, this one's really messed up. Now, headaches are something people commonly get. They can be caused by anything from stress at your job to simply dealing with loud people. Headaches are pretty much easy to come by. Well, something else that's pretty common in most humans is apparently finding parasitic worms in our bodies. Yeah, that idea alone is pretty disturbing. Now, how about combining both the headaches and the parasitic worms? Yeah, we thought so. That's exactly what happened to a 50-year-old Chinese guy. After experiencing severe headaches, the man went to a hospital where doctors discovered a rare species of tapeworm known as Spirometra arenaceae europae in his brain. The worm was burrowing deep into his brain. Odds are that if he didn't seek medical attention, it would have most likely caused him to die.
8.
Eel in the intestines. So, believe it or not, there have been 2 different cases of eels being found within a human body. One of these cases involved a 15-centimeter long eel being found inside of a person's bladder, and the other one was discovered in a Chinese man's intestines. It was said that the eel tried so desperately to escape that it ended up chewing through the man's colon, perforating his large intestine, and then becoming stuck in his body cavity. Doctors managed to remove the eel, but the man ended up suffering from severe internal bleeding. How it got there, however, is a disturbing story altogether, as it was reported that the Chinese guy had watched a pornographic film and, well, you can pretty much figure it out from there.
7.
Botfly larvae in the eye. Everybody has experienced the uncomfortable feeling of having a bug in their eye at some point or another. Usually, after a bit of winking and tearing up, you'll end up getting rid of the sensation and move on with your life. Common thing, right? Well, this wasn't the case for one particular 5-year-old boy in Honduras. This situation turned out to be much, much worse. It was discovered that a botfly had lodged in the boy's eye. Now, it's bad enough that the young kid had to get a parasitic insect removed from his eye socket, but it was also discovered that the botfly had laid eggs in his eye socket. We bet you're all rubbing your eyes now, huh?
6.
Naegleria fowleri in the nose. So, the worm in the brain thing we mentioned earlier was pretty messed up, right? Well, did you know that there's a specific parasite that's known specifically for going for a person's brain? Also known as the brain-eating amoeba, Naegleria fowleri is a free-living thermophilic excavate form of protist found in warm fresh water like ponds, lakes, rivers, and hot springs. In humans, the amoeba enters the central nervous system through the nose, and it migrates from there to the cranium and eventually to the brain. Once there, it starts eating the brain cells, causing primary amoebic meningoencephalitis, a disease with a fatality rate where only a measly 5% of people survive the parasitic attack.
5.
Cockroach in the ear. Ear canals tend to be a popular spot for insects of many kinds to take shelter so they can create habitats and lay eggs. There have been many cases of this happening, like crickets being found in people's ears, and even one case of a 90-year-old woman discovering that she had over 50 maggots living inside of her ears. No matter how you look at it, it's messed up. But wait, if you think crickets and maggots in your ears is gross, well, we've got a story for you. When Hendrik Helmer from Australia was experiencing unbearable pain in his ear, he thought a spider had gotten up in there. But he was wrong. It wasn't a spider. It was actually a 2.5 centimeter long cockroach. After an unsuccessful attempt to vacuum out the invader himself, Helmer had to visit a doctor who removed the cockroach practically by using a pair of tweezers. Say hello to my little friend.
4.
Squid spermatophores in the mouth. So it turns out that spermatophore squid eggs are still active even after death. Unfortunately for a 63-year-old South Korean woman, she found this out the hard way. After eating a partially cooked squid at a local restaurant, the woman felt something was spreading in her mouth. Since this strange sensation persisted, she decided to visit a doctor. To her astonishment, the doctor found small white spindle-shaped bug-like organisms called spermatophores in her mouth. Turns out that she'd eaten a cooked squid that had laid eggs that inseminated the woman's mouth. That is crazy. Oh, open wide, SpongeBob.
3,
Your own twin. Now, this is something you'd see in a horror film. Probably one of the most disturbing things to be living inside of a person's body was discovered in June of 1999, and that thing was a person's own twin. Sanju Baguette made this horrifying discovery when he found out that his abnormally sized belly was not due to a lack of any exercise routine, but rather it was due to his twin living off of him like a parasite. The horrifying operation involved removing this half-formed creature, which had even developed hands and feet at the time of surgery. That alone is nightmare fuel.
2,
Spider in the stomach. People with arachnophobia may find themselves feeling sick after this one. After returning from what was said to be an enjoyable vacation on the Indonesian island of Bali, Australian local Dylan Maxwell returned home only to find a strange red scar-like trail leading from his navel up to his chest. He originally thought something had bitten him, but when he went to the hospital, the shocked doctors found out that the trail was burrowed by a little tropical spider that had gotten into his body and survived there for several days.
1,
Teratoma. Although this is technically not a plant or an animal, the teratoma can be regarded as a living creature. Otherwise known as the monster tumor, the teratoma is a very specific type of tumor with tissue or organ components resembling normal derivatives of more than one germ layer. These tumors have been reported to contain features like hair, teeth, bone, and sometimes even more complex organs like eyes, torsos, or limbs. These things are literally living organisms and not a growth. Allegedly, there have even been cases of the teratoma trying to possess the host and attack its brain. Okay, now that is literally something from a horror movie. It's not a tumor.